Blessed day, everyone. Welcome to week 6, day 2 of our lecture in Practical Research 2. The research framework illustrates the structure or blueprint of the research plan and helps the researcher formulate relevant research questions. The framework consists of the key concepts and assumes relationships of the research project. It is normally used as a guide for researchers so that they can be more focused on the scope of their studies. There are two ways to present a research framework. It can be presented using visuals like diagrams, charts, etc., and narratives where you state the concepts and relationships of the study in paragraph form. There are two types of research frameworks. These are the theoretical framework and the conceptual framework. As you can see in the screen, by definition, a theoretical framework is commonly used for studies that anchor on time-tested theories that relate the findings of the investigation to the underpinning relevant theory of knowledge. The structure that can hold or support a research study's theory is known as the theoretical framework. The theory that explains why the research problem is under study is introduced and explained in the theoretical framework. We will explain this further as we continue with our lesson. On the other hand, the conceptual framework refers to the actual ideas, beliefs, and tentative theories that specifically support the study. It is primarily a conception or model of what is out there and that the researcher plans to study. To simply put it, a conceptual framework is a representation of the relationship you expect to see between your variables, or the characteristics or properties that you want to study. Conceptual frameworks can be written or visual and are generally developed based on a literature review of existing studies about your topic. To discuss the details of the theoretical and conceptual framework, let us first have a run-through of their similarities. First, it provides an overall view of the research study. Both the theoretical and conceptual framework anchors a theory that supports the study. It also serves as a guide in developing relevant research questions or objectives, as well as justify assumptions and hypotheses. Both the theoretical and conceptual framework aid in choosing appropriate methodology, help in gathering and interpreting data, and guide in identifying possible threats to the validity of your study. As you can see in the slide, here is a summary of the differences of theoretical and conceptual frameworks. When it comes to the content of discussion, the theoretical framework focuses specific theory already in the field, while conceptual framework focuses on the concept. When it comes to range, broader are the coverage of the theoretical framework, while the conceptual framework is more narrower or more focused. When it comes to theories presented, the theoretical framework presents one or more theory at a time and specifically related to the current study, while the conceptual framework may synthesize one or more theories or concepts related to a current study. When it comes to time frame, theoretical framework follows established theory, while conceptual framework is a working concept during the time of the study. So as you can see, although the theoretical framework and the conceptual framework share many similarities, their focuses and goals are different. The conceptual framework visualizes what you anticipate the relationships between concepts, constructs, and variables may be. It may be based on your understanding of the existing literature and the specific context and focus of your research, while the theoretical framework is used to establish a theoretical foundation on which your study will be built. Now, here are some guidelines and strategies in choosing and developing a theoretical framework. So, as you can see in the slide, first one is that you have to revisit the information given by your related literature and identify if there are many potential theories or knowledge that may be used or anchored to the possible outcome of your study. So, you have to identify any prospective theories or knowledge that might be useful or anchored to the probable outcome of your investigation, and you can do this by reviewing the information provided by your related literature. Now, with the use of this information, you can now create a plan or blueprint for your research study. You also need to comprehend and consider the variables that will be significant in your study and their relationship with one another. To simply put it, you can now create a master plan for your research study with the information available from the various literatures you have read. However, you need to comprehend and consider the elements that will be crucial in your investigation, as well as how they interact with one another. Now let's have a quick example on how you can identify a theoretical framework. For example, an online clothing store is struggling with the fact that many of their online customers do not return or make subsequent purchases. This is a big issue for the otherwise fast-growing store. For the store management, they want to increase customer loyalty. They believe that improved customer satisfaction will play a major role in achieving their goal of increased return. To investigate this problem, you have to zero in on the following problem statement, objective, and research question. So, with the presented scenario, you were able to identify that, as for the problem, many of the online customers do not return to make subsequent purchases. Now, for your objective, you need to increase the quantity of return customers. Therefore, your research question would be, how can the satisfaction of the boutique's online customers be improved in order to increase the quantity of return customers? After writing your general research question, you can now write the sub-questions, which can include what is the relationship between customer loyalty and customer satisfaction? How satisfied and loyal are the boutique's online customers currently? And what factors affect the satisfaction and loyalty of the boutique's online customers? As you would notice, the concept of customer loyalty and customer satisfaction are clearly central to this study, along with their relationship to the likelihood that a customer will return. Your theoretical framework should define these concepts and discuss theories about the relationship between these variables. Again, your variables will focus on customer loyalty and customer satisfaction. Now that you have identified that the main focus of your study would be customer loyalty and customer satisfaction, it's time to look for available theories on these topics. As you can see on the screen, there are at least 7 available theories on customer loyalty and customer satisfaction. As you study the theories in depth, you found out that among the theories available, value precept, the one with the circle, is a popular theory on customer satisfaction. This can be seen clearly in many of the recurrent types of cases, such as cases involving brand switching, cases involving the failure of trial products, and cases involving the purchase of services. A common characteristic in such cases is that consumers base their evaluations on products, services, and brands that are absent from their initial perceptions. Therefore, the value percept disparity theory has also been applied to explain why consumers value some brands, products, and services over others, even if these other brands, products, and services are more highly expected. This was cited in the works of Westbrook, 1992. With this available information about the value precept theory, then you can now choose this or use this to serve as an anchor of your research paper. Now, to determine the key elements or key themes in your study, you must go to your research question or objectives when you develop your conceptual framework. You have to look for different theories that incorporate the same idea and analyze their connection with one another. You also need to create a concept map of your theoretical foundation using the ideas already in existence as a guide. You can add topics if you are aware that they are crucial to your research but are not covered by the theories you have chosen. After creating the initial draft of your conceptual framework, keep in mind that you must write an explanation of the concepts you are including and how they relate to one another. Additionally, you should review your conceptual framework and research questions to see if they still make sense. It's critical to keep in mind that creating a conceptual framework is a procedure. This implies that it might still be improved upon or modified as you learn more information or investigate more hypotheses. In some cases, the conceptual framework may include the research hypothesis. Now, when it comes to concept map, a concept map is a visual representation of information that helps show the relationship between ideas. Concept map begins with the main topic and then branch out into subtopics, reflecting the connection of all the elements in the study. It can also provide and organize new ideas. Concept maps proves to be very useful for researchers and readers who understand better visually. With the proper connection of lines and linking arrows to shapes and other symbols, representing your concepts about the research, the readers can now visualize a comprehensive picture of your study. However, in the concept map, you are not yet actually researching your study. It is developing or creating your plan or blueprint so that you will be guided on the flow and direction of your research study. And that includes your research questions, variables, and methodology. It means that you are just gathering and soliciting ideas on what you could learn about your chosen topic. Before creating your conceptual framework, you have to understand first the different variables of your study, although these were already discussed with you in the previous lessons. But for the purpose of utilizing it in your framework, an in-depth concept is needed. Concept map can take the form of charts, graphic organizers, tables, flowcharts, Venn diagrams, timelines, or T-charts. So, through the concept map, we are presented with the hierarchy of ideas. It is composed of these different figures which represents the elements of your research. Here is one example of the input process output uh, conceptual framework. So for the input, here in the example, the profile of entrepreneurs such as age, sex, seminars, roles of entrepreneurs, specimen collection, and performance comprises the inputs. When we refer to inputs, these are the variables that causes the problem, phenomenon, or transformation. When it comes to the process is actually the method by which the variables are collected and synthesized. And in this illustration, the process that the variables underwent includes the analysis of data through the questionnaires, informal interviews, and statistical and scientific treatment. The output, which is the improved role of entrepreneurs, higher returns, better quality of service, serves as the output of this process. The output is the problem, phenomenon, or transformation, or the outcome of the variables. Now, let us simplify the input process output model in a more relatable way. Think of your favorite French fries. To have a tasty French fries, you need potato strings, salt, and cooking oil, right? You need to deep fry the potato strings in hot cooking oil within a specified time. Afterwards, you have to sprinkle it with iodized salt to taste. Now you can enjoy your French fries. In this illustration, the ingredients are the inputs, the deep frying is the process, and the French fries is the output. The input is usually the independent variable of the study. Meanwhile, the process is the intervention or solution consists of the instrument and analysis used to acquire the result. And lastly, the output is the findings or outcome of the intervention being made to solve the identified problem. The input process output model is a conceptual paradigm which indicates the inputs, required process, and the output. This approach is seated on the premise of acquiring essential information by converting inputs into outputs through the required processing steps in obtaining the result. The IPO model is also referred to as a functional model that is usually used in action research, where an intervention or solution is necessary to solve the identified problem. Let us have a quick look at the common examples of conceptual framework. Keep in mind that the common conceptual frameworks used of most studies are the independent and dependent variable model and the input process and output model. As mentioned earlier, the independent variable dependent variable model is one of the commonly used conceptual framework. This conceptual framework shows the independent and dependent variables of the study. In this case, it is presumed that the more number of hours a student prepares for the exam, the higher would be the expected academic performance. So here, the independent variable is the hours of the study and academic performance is the dependent variable. Now, in this conceptual framework, the students who underwent the mentoring program have better academic performance than those who did not. So here, the independent variable is the effect of the mentoring program, while the dependent variable is the academic performance. Now let us look at the input process output model, or the IPO. This conceptual framework shows the input process and output approach of the study. The input is the independent variable, which includes the socio-demographic profile such as age, sex, and marital status, and the food safety profile, which includes the knowledge, attitudes, and practices. We are profiling here the respondents of the study. When it comes to the process, it includes the tools and analysis in gathering data such as profiling, survey questionnaire, and data analysis. And the output is the outcome base of the study, which is the proposed intervention program. Here's another example of the IPO model, this time based on the title Awareness of the Safety Precaution Against COVID-19 among the Senior Citizens Who Are Living in the Home Care Facilities, basis for a proposed intervention program. In this conceptual framework, the input is the baseline information about the respondents, such as the demographic profile, which includes age, sex, marital status, educational attainment, and the safety precaution awareness against COVID-19, such as causes, management, and prevention. The necessary steps and procedures are to be implemented to obtain the vital data as a result of the findings of the research. So what they did is that all the demographic profile and safety precaution awareness against COVID-19 underwent the process of profiling, survey tool, data gathering, data analysis, and interpretation. And the output of this finding is the proposed intervention program. For our generalization, we now learned the theoretical framework is used to lay down a foundation of theory on which your study will be built, whereas the conceptual framework visualizes what you anticipate the relationships between concepts, constructs, and variables may be based on your understanding of the existing literature and the specific context and focus of your research. Now, for the group activity, you are given the framework you need to formulate the research title according to the elements and factors that are present in the variables. Give 3 possible research titles that would reflect on the given variables. Just a quick explanation. In this conceptual paradigm, we have the independent variable, the dependent variable, the moderating variable, and the mediating variable. The independent variable is the presumed cause of the research problem. It is the reason for any change or difference in the dependent variable. Keep in mind that the dependent variable is the presumed effect of the research problem. It is usually the problem itself or the element that is being questioned. The moderating variable, on the other hand, is an independent variable which influences the direction and the strength of the connection between the independent and dependent variables. The independent variable interacts with the moderator variable, which makes the relationship of the independent and dependent variable stronger or weaker. It alters the effect that an independent variable has on a dependent variable based on its value. The moderator thus influences the effective component of the cause-effect relationship between the two variables. This is also called the interaction effect. On the other hand, the mediating variable or intervening variable is an element that exists between the independent to the dependent variable. A mediator or mediating variable is an integral part of the cause-effect relationship and helps us to understand the effect of the independent variable on the dependent variable. It is a variable that describes the effect and influence of the relationship between the variables and what is controlling that relationship. This is also called as correlated or mediator variable. Now, for your module activity 19, you have to create an initial research framework for your research study. Consider the relationship between the concepts and variables in your research. Then draw a concept map representing this relationship visually. And for module activity 20, after finishing your map, describe it in no more than 10 sentences. All the information in this study or in this lecture came from Practical Research 2 Grade 12 Alternative Delivery Mode Quarter 1, Module 2, Identifying the Inquiry and Stating the Problem, First Edition, 2020 from the Department of Education, Region 10, and from the website http://www.scriber.com Dissertation Theoretical Framework Examples. Thank you for listening in this lecture. God bless.